Hey everybody, I'm back. Hey y'all, it's Bree. I know it has been a very long time since I posted. Please do not come for me.
And this is how it felt.
Really?
She's explaining it to you.
Yeah, I'm just saying really.
Guys, I guess why I took a little break. Well, not even a break. I'm just gonna be real. I kind of was procrastinating on this channel. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Let me take that back. I did know what I wanted to do. The problem with me was procrastination, trying to figure out my new way. And I just knew that God, he just kept tugging on my heart about getting up with this YouTube channel. I'm totally private. I don't put my business out there. And so I wanted to be in a space where I wanted to do something that I love to do. And I'm constantly on YouTube. And the thing that I do the most on YouTube is watch commentary channels that review certain television shows that I watch. I've been on other platforms where I've given commentary, on panels. So that's always been fun. So I said, you know what? Let me do what God has called me to do. And I'm about to just do commentary. So I'm back. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I thank you to, any subscribers who have not unsubscribed from my little channel. I just thank you so much. I'm not going to make this long at all, because we're going to get right into it. So basically, the gist of this channel now is going to move into a new direction. I'm going to be reviewing and recapping television shows, specifically like reality shows, things that I watch. I'm also going to give commentary on different things that made me in pop culture. I'm not going to be like a celebrity news reporter or anything like that. That's not really my thing. But if there's something that comes up in the media that I want to talk about, I will give my commentary on it. Anything that has anything to do with the Black community, specifically Black women and Black men, I do want to talk about that. So I have a whole lot of things and ideas that I want to do. And I just feel like God has put this on my heart. And he's like, you need to do this because it's probably your gift. So I have decided, my video coming back, that I'm going to do commentary and review and recap for you guys Ready to Love. Woohoo! So with that, I'm going to review Ready to Love, Make a Move. So Ready to Love, Make a Move is a spin-off show from the original franchise of Ready to Love. So if you guys know, Ready to Love is basically a dating show, mostly for, Black people. And it's about 20 men and women, they mix and mingle. They try to find the match that's for them. Basically, at the end, they either choose each other or they don't, and they just ride off into the sunset or something. And then we learn by the reunion that they done broke up or there's some type of scandal or drama. All right, so basically, the show that I'm going to review is their spinoff, which is Ready to Love, Make a Move. And basically, it's about 4 different women who come onto the show who were in previous seasons of Ready to Love. Either the match that they found on the prior season, it didn't work out with them, or they just haven't found anyone yet. And so now they're being brought to a city, which is based in New Orleans. They're going to be working with a matchmaker, which is kind of cool. And she sets them up on dates, and then they try to find their match that way. So that's kind of like the premise of the show. I'm going to get straight into episode 2. I'm not going to review episode 1. That'll just be kind of too much, and I don't want this video to be long. So I'm going to jump right into episode 2. Thank you so much for sticking with me. So let's get into it. So episode 2 is titled Wake Up Call. So we start this episode off with matchmaker Tamika Lee informing the ladies that she has handpicked 4 men to all take them out on dates. So she's basically matchmaking them with these guys. So the girls, they seem excited, they're really excited about this. Like, oh, okay, the matchmaker, she's handpicked some guys for us. So they're all getting ready, things like that. So finally, the 4 gentlemen arrive. So Sharice, She immediately clocks the man in the suit and states that, he better be for herself because she's immediately attracted. And just a disclaimer really quick, if you guys see my eyes somewhere else, it's because I'm reading my notes for the episode because I want to make sure I give it to you right. So anyway, Tamika matches Zadia, who's 37. She matches him with a guy named Cameron. And Cameron, he's tall. I think he has locks in his hair. And, she's attracted to him. He's a nice looking guy. Then she matches Charisse with a guy named Maurice, which happens to be the guy in the suit who she immediately saw and who she was immediately attracted to. So, of course, she was happy. And then Tamika matches Bernicia, who's 42, with a guy named Ramon. And then lastly, she matches Ashley with a man named Marcus. So next, we see the ladies go and they get changed in order to get ready for their dates. As I was saying before, before they didn't get ready, but now they're getting ready. So the first date that we see is Zadia and Cameron, and they go to this restaurant. So we find out that Cameron is a pharmacist and a photographer on the side, and he's from Omaha, Nebraska. So, they're both talking about their careers, what they do. And generally speaking, both of them find out that they have a lot in common. They both find out that they lived in Atlanta at one point in time, and that they actually both went to the University of Houston in Texas. We see that Zadia, she makes it clear that she's very attracted to Cameron. She says that in her confessional. And also something she let us know, which I'm kind of shocked that she even let us know this on camera. She let us know that she's abstaining, and she's been abstaining since June of 22, if you know what I mean. So anyway, as they continue on with their date, they begin to talk about their careers, and Zadia is just loving the fact that he's a very ambitious guy. He talks about his photography business on the side and how it's been growing. And so I quote in Zadia's saying, she says she loves the fact that he has jobs on top of jobs on top of jobs. And so we even see Cameron say on camera that he can see himself with a woman like Zadia because she's smart and that they're both entrepreneurs. And so overall, her date with Cameron, it went really, really well. So next we see Ashley go on her date. And so, she's dressed down in like athletic gear. She looked really nice. It was actually a cute outfit. I kind of need to find out where she got it from. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So anyway, she meets up with her date, Marcus, that was matched with her from the matchmaker, Tamika. And so they are outside somewhere. It kind of looks like a suburban neighborhood somewhere in New Orleans. So, they're outside. And so when she walks up, she sees, 2 bicycles. So what Marcus has planned for them is to go bicycle riding. So immediately he's attracted to her. And, we find out that Marcus is 41 years old and he's an assistant principal. So Marcus tells her, when she arrives, that their date that he has planned for her is that they are going to go bike riding. And so you can tell that Ashley's kind of, apprehensive about it. And she lets us know that she has not, rode a bike since she was a child. So she doesn't know how this is going to go. And so basically, she's a team player. She's a good sport. So they start going bike riding. And it's so funny because in the episode, she's like kind of falling off of the bike. The poor child, she just has not rode a bike in years. So she's kind of, falling off of it. But you could tell Marcus was enjoying his time with her. And it was kind of funny. And so he said that he really liked her energy. So fast forward, after they do their bike riding, they pull up to a little cute gelato shop, to have like gelatos, and they sit down and talk. So Ashley asked him, what did you think of me earlier when you saw me at the house? And so he tells her that, he liked the way she dressed. She dressed really nice, and he loved the color she wore, which was like a poppin' yellow and gold color. So immediately, Ashley's like, hold up, because you about to get it, because I wasn't the person in that color. That's what she told him. And so she lets him know that it was Zadia who was in that color of clothing the first time that he saw her. So Ashley tells him, like, while she's sitting down with them, she's like, you know what, you getting an X in my book because you should have known what color I was wearing, but you over there looking at Zadia thinking I'm Zadia and that wasn't me. And so we see her in her confessional, and she says that what she doesn't like is that he doesn't pay attention to detail. And so she eventually let him know, like, no, I was the one in the tan dress. So yeah. So basically, as they're sitting down, they make light of the situation. You know, they're just joking around about it. And so then further, Marcus begins to tell her about his career as an assistant principal at a high school in New Orleans. And then Ashley begins to tell him about her career as a speech therapist in the school system. I believe she said she works with kids from, I believe, pre-K through high school, and also that she's a serial entrepreneur as well. And so in her confessional, Ashley says that what she and Marcus have in common are their love for children. So I thought that was cute, you know, a cute little thing. So overall, she said that they had a great date. And prior to, remember when I told you in episode 1, the ladies did go out on first dates with guys that they handpicked. So with her date, the guy that she was out with, I believe his name is Donald, she said she's kind of torn between him and Marcus because she had a great time with both of them. So we'll see what happens with that. So after Ashley's date, we now see Vernisha go on her date with Ramon. We find out Ramon is 38 years old and he was a former pro basketball player. So they end up going to a restaurant. She asks him, you know, what do you do for a living? And he lets her know that he's a retired basketball player. He did play overseas and he did retire about 1.5 years ago. He also lets her know that he's traveled to different countries, and I believe he played overseas in France. So Vernisha is very intrigued by this because she likes the fact that he travels, and she even lets him know that she would like to travel more. And so then next they begin to talk about family, and he lets her know that he is close with his parents, specifically his mom. He was actually telling her that he spoke to his mom on his way to his date and that he about to call her after the date because, you know, mom wants to know, you know, how did it go? What happened? Things like that. So I thought that was cute. And so then Vernisha asked him, you know, how long has it been since he's been in a relationship? So he says, you know, due to his career and him traveling and playing ball, his last relationship was in the year of 2008. And it lasted for 2 years. So Vernisha is like, yeah. So we find out in her confessional, she says that that's kind of like, I don't know, she didn't say a red flag, but she basically said that because he doesn't really have experience, you know, with a committed relationship, she's kind of uneasy about it. She just said that he doesn't have enough experience for her in the relationship department. So yeah. So next we see, he asked her, you know, why are you single? And he's like, you know, I'm pretty sure you have options. You know, he could tell that, you know, he was attracted to her. So she's like, I don't have options. Like, my phone is dry. So he's playing around. He's like, I don't believe that, you know. And, you know, she lets him know that she doesn't have a problem detaching herself from a situation that's not for her, because what Vernisha is looking for, she's looking to date with intentions because she wants to be a wife. And pause, because I want to get into this real quick. And I was, you know, it's so funny because I watch, you know, some commentators and, you know, people say certain things on social media, especially women saying like, oh, I don't want a relationship, I don't need a man and all that. And one particular YouTuber that I watch, shout out to her, she had this conversation the other day on her live. And I was watching her live and she was saying like, you know, she is so tired of the girls trying to fake as if they don't want a relationship, especially they don't want to be wife. And I totally agree with her. And what I liked about Bernicia is that she let it be known, I want to be a wife. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, God made marriage. It didn't come from man. It's a beautiful thing when you're with the right person. And so I agree with that YouTuber. Like, yes, I'm like, all y'all girls out there need to stop acting like you don't want a man. A man is a compliment to you. You know, let me not even get into that tangent. But yeah, y'all, ain't nothing wrong with that. You want companionship. Most of us are created for companionship and to have that person by your side. They're tied to your destiny, you know, but we just have to allow God to bring us to the right person. But anyway, I ain't about to get into that. So back to the show. So basically, let me get back to that. And so basically, she tells him that she likes romance, such as dates and flowers, you know, and, you know, he was like, okay, yeah, I understand that. And basically, towards the end of their date in her confessional, she says that, you know, she had a good time with Ramon and she's now torn between her date from the last episode that she had with Jabari and him because she both had a great time with both. So next, we see Miss Charisse go on a date with Maurice. Remember Maurice, the guy in the suit who she was feeling? So they go to a restaurant and Charisse lets us know that she's excited to go on this date with him, you know, because there is some attraction between the two. So she makes it clear on her previous date in episode 1 with Antonio that she was not feeling him. They just didn't have any chemistry. And I think she was saying something about she didn't like his vest or something, but yeah, she lets us know in her confessional she's not feeling Antonio. So anyway, we learned that Marcus is 51 years old, and he lets Charisse know that he's an attorney that owns his own practice. So you know how Charisse is. If you guys watch the show, she is like, yes, I'm looking for a professional man, a man that, you know, it's about his business, that has going on. Like, she's very, very happy to hear that. So they start talking about his interests outside of work. You know, he lets her know that he likes to go out to dinner, travel, and meet new people. And you can tell that she's feeling him and she's liking what he's saying so far. So in her confessional, she says that she likes that he goes out because she wants to be with a man who's very social. So as they're sitting down, you know, having conversation, all of a sudden a waitress comes up over to her and hands her a bouquet of flowers, specifically roses. And so immediately we learned that her date, Maurice, surprised her with them. And I thought that was really cute. That was really nice, you know, just out of nowhere. And we find out that roses, they're her favorite flower. So immediately she was smitten by that. And child, she was just smiling from ear to ear. So she asked him, you know, what do you want to know about me? And she tells him that, you know, she's 44, she's never been married, and she doesn't have any children. And then we find out he lets her know that he was married previously before, and he has 4 children. So she does say she prefers a man without kids, and although his kids are grown, she still doesn't know where she'll fit in his life with that. But she says she's going to try her best not to focus on it. So next, their food arrives and they start eating. And all of a sudden, there's like this awkward silence between them while they're eating. Now, I know when you're eating, you shouldn't really talk with your mouth full of food. But usually, if you're, you know, connecting with someone, you kind of, you know, you're talking in between, you're asking each other questions. But watching that scene was very cringy to me. I even felt awkward and I wasn't even there. So it was just like silence. He wasn't asking her questions. He wasn't really trying to get to know her. And so it was like he wasn't interested, in my opinion. So she's trying to ask him questions while there's still no effort on her end. And you can tell that she was trying to talk to him, you know, wanting to get to know him, but he was all in his meal, like he was just eating. So, so it was just kind of awkward. And I can tell she was really trying with him, but I feel like he wasn't giving her any effort whatsoever. So we skip on over to the next scene, and we see that the ladies are back at the house from their dates, and they're meeting with the matchmaker, Tamika. So, Tamika wants to know, hey ladies, what's going on in the house? Is everybody getting along? Are there any house rules? She just wants to see what's up, what they've been up to in the house. So during Sharice's confessional, she says that they should have had a discussion about house rules from day one. So immediately us as viewers were like, oh Lord, something probably went down. What is she talking about? They should have had a discussion about house rules. So anyway, Ashley lets Tamika know that, they're having fun. But Sharice lets Tamika know that everyone has to be considerate of everyone's space. So the matchmaker is looking like, okay, what's going on? And Sharice lets her know that she has house rules. And one of the house rules is that there are not to be any guys come to the house. She doesn't feel comfortable with that. They don't really know these guys, which is understandable. And, that was her house rule in place. So Ashley lets, the matchmaker, Tamika, know that the other night, they were having a good time. They were in the kitchen. Basically, she was saying they were turning up like they were in a club. So Tamika asked, why are there no guys allowed in the house? And, did something happen? So Sharice says that, they were sitting around in the kitchen, just having girl talk. And in Zadia's confessional, she says that she asked the girls, how do they feel about company coming over? So Zadia says that Bernicia said, we're all grown. Let's have a good time. Basically, you guys do what you want. And Ashley's the same way. She's like, oh, girl, I don't care. Do what you want to do. But in Ashley's confessional that we see in the next scene, she lets us know that Sharice was not having it. Like, don't even try to bring no dudes over to the house. Lord have mercy, Jesus. So next we switch over to Sharice's confessional, and she says that she told Zadia politely. She says she doesn't want any dudes coming to the house that she doesn't know. And so Zadia, she lets you know, okay, that's cool. I won't do that. Next, we see Sharice tell Tamika that she woke up the next morning, after they had their conversation in the kitchen, they were having fun and stuff like that. And she woke up having to let somebody in the house. So Zadia says that the next morning she arrived to the house and the door was locked. And then Sharice says that her phone rings about 7 a.m. in the morning, and on the other line, it's Zadia. So Zadia tells her, like, can you open the door? Can you let me in the house? So Sharice was kind of annoyed by that because, Zadia didn't even say please. According to her, Zadia didn't say please. Basically, can you wake up and come downstairs and let me in the house? And so she also said Zadia didn't even say sorry for waking her up or anything like that. So Sharice is upset because she said also Zadia didn't say, thank you as well when she did open the door. So the ladies let Tamika know that they were all in their rooms last night after, they had their girl talk and stuff in the kitchen. So Sharice immediately says that wasn't true on Zadia's part. And Tamika's looking at them like, okay, what's going on? Because even Tamika's like, yeah, something's up with that. So Tamika turns to Zadia and she says, was that you? And basically saying, was that you, the one that woke up Sharice to open the door for you? So Zadia tells Tamika, that she went for a walk in the morning. She got locked out of the house. So the matchmaker asked her, okay, well, what time did you go for this walk? And Zadia says, oh, I went at like 6 a.m. So I'm sitting here laughing like, girl. I mean, it's so obvious that's not the truth, but we'll continue on. So Ashley, she starts laughing. You can already tell that Tamika does not believe Zadia talking about she went for a walk at 6 a.m. So all of a sudden, Zadia turns to Sharice and she asks her, like, why are you doing this for? Like, basically, why are you telling my business that basically you have to open the door for me in the morning? So Sharice tells her that she's answering, the questions that Tamika's asking. And then Zadia says she's making a big deal over it. So Sharice lets her know, in her nice, nasty way, not to wake her up when she's sleeping. So Vernisha is just making faces like, Lord child, you not need this. And I'm over here just cracking up, laughing while I'm watching the episode. And so she lets us know in her confessional that she can tell this is going to be a long journey. Vernisha, tells us that. So next, Sharice starts letting Zadia know that she doesn't know her. And Zadia is just looking like, I'm not here for this. So Sharice tells her, don't wake me up. And Zadia tells her she won't ever have to worry about waking her up ever again. So Tamika asks Zadia if she left the house last night. And Zadia says, she didn't. And so, we get through that whole thing. And so they kind of just leave it alone at that point. So next, Tamika lets the women know that it's time for them to make a decision between the first date that the group of guys they went out on their first date with in episode 1, between the second batch of men that they went on their second date with that she actually handpicked for them. So she said they had to make a decision that night, and she's going to have the guys come over and they have to let basically one go and they'll let the other person stay. So the girls are like, oh Lord, they're just not looking forward to that because, you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. So Tamika refers to the person that they're going to keep as the keeper. So she's saying, get dressed. They're on their way. We're going to do like a little mixer. And basically you guys got to let these dudes know who's staying and who's going. So, next, we see that the girls are getting ready for the mixer. They're putting on their makeup, doing their hair, things like that. And we see them getting all glammed up. So the men finally arrive to the house, and we see that Vernisha and Ashley are talking to the men that they went on first dates with. Next, we see Ashley's first date from episode 1, Donald, and they're sitting at a table and, he starts kicking it to her and singing some type of poetry to her. And you can tell she was feeling it and stuff like that. And then afterwards, we see her go with her second date, Marcus, and she takes him inside the house so that they can talk. So she lets Marcus know she had an amazing time with him, and then it cuts over to another scene where she brings Donald into the house and, she's talking to him and informing him she had a good time with him. But she does ask Donald, I don't know if you're really feeling me. I don't know if you're really here for me. So next we jump back over to another scene with her, still talking to Marcus. And she tells him that she doesn't really think he's here to date her, but just here for anyone who's willing to date him. So from that scene, she lets Marcus know that she's decided to go in a different direction, the one that's right for her. So she also lets him know she doesn't feel that he's completely engulfed in her. So, he takes the news like a G. He takes it very politely and they hug each other and it was all love. It was good. And then next we jump over to the next scene where Ashley tells Donald that she's going to keep him around. And he's relieved, child. He's like, woo, thank God she ain't getting rid of me. And they hug it out. So next, we go back outside and we see Sharice talking to Cameron. And remember, Cameron was Zadia's second date, who she was really feeling. And it seems like they were having a good conversation. They were flowing. And I'm not going to lie, in my eyes, it looked like they were kind of flirting. So Zadia sees this and she starts walking over towards them. But then all of a sudden she just turns around. I guess when she saw them talking, I guess she didn't want to interrupt. So she ended up turning back around and going another way. So we see Sharice talking to Cameron, and, she's asking like, oh, how was your date with Zadia? He lets her know it was good. And so then all of a sudden, Sharice lets him know that she has a bone to pick with him. So he's like, you got a bone to pick with me? What's up? What's going on? So she tells him she thinks she lost some sleep because he was dropping her off. He was dropping a certain someone off at the house all early and stuff. And so she tells him, don't wake me up no more. And so Cameron lets us know in his confessional that Zadia hit him up that night. She wanted to hang out. He picked her up and they just went somewhere and they just were talking like all night long until the sun came up. And then he brought her home afterwards. So Zadia still sees them talking, so she decides to walk over to them and she takes Cameron in the house. So Zadia informs Cameron, she had a great time with them on their date, but she wants to know more about his past relationships. So immediately Cameron makes his face and he tells her like, okay, why do you want to know about my past relationships? It's in the past. I don't talk about it and I don't want to go there. And then next, we jump over to a scene where Zadia brings her first date from the first episode, Jabari, into the house. And she lets Jabari know that, she liked their banter that they had on their date, but she feels like he's more into Vernisha than her. So if you go back to episode 1, Jabari went on a date also with Vernisha. So back to episode 2. So she also lets Jabari know that she's going to move in a different direction. So basically she lets him go. And so Jabari was cool with that because he let us know in his confessional he wasn't really surprised by Zadia's statement because he's made it no secret that he likes Vernisha. So next we skip over to Zadia and Cameron again. And she lets him know that, hey, I'm going to keep you around for another date. And Cameron is excited because, he does like her. So next we jump on over to Sharice and she takes Maurice and Antonio, her second and first date, into the house separately. So we first see that she's on the couch speaking to Maurice and lets him know that he's been a gentleman to her and, she's enjoyed his company. Then we cut over to a scene where she's talking to Antonio and she lets him know, they've had great conversations and she likes his goals and aspirations. And then, I know y'all, it's jumping all over the place, but that's how the episode was. So I'm trying to give you a visual of it. So then we cut over back to Sharice speaking with Maurice and letting him know, she was concerned about him having kids and an ex-wife. And then we jump over back to her and Antonio, and she tells him that she doesn't see any chemistry between them and his age because he is younger than her. And so she decides to let him know she's going to move in a different direction. So, they hug it out, and he even agreed with her. He felt like there were no chemistry between them, and he was cool with it. So in the next scene, we see that Sharice informs Maurice that she's keeping him around. They both hug and they both seem happy. And it was funny because Maurice, when he had some alone camera time, he was like, oh, I wasn't worried. Like, I already knew she was going to pick me. Like, basically, he was like, I had it in the bag. So, yeah. And so Sharice lets us know she's just hoping that they talk more in the future and not just looking at each other when they go on dates. So finally, we get to Vernisha, who takes Jabari and Ramon inside the house. Again, her first and second dates. So Vernisha lets Ramon know that she loved that he was present and well-traveled. Remember, he was the pro basketball player. And the only problem is she feels his lack of experience when it comes to commitment is not there. He doesn't really have experience with like a long-term relationship or just like a relationship in general. Then we jump over to a scene where Vernisha tells Jabari that she's feeling the vibes between him and her, but she lets him know that he's kind of like a smooth talker and she doesn't know if she can trust him. Then in the next scene, we see Vernisha tell Ramon that she's decided to go in a different direction. And it was all love between them as well. And then in the next scene with Vernisha, we see her informing Jabari that she's decided she's going to keep him around. And he's all happy, child, because he's totally attracted to her. He was feeling her from day one. And he just wants to see where their connection can go. So next, after everybody chose who they want to be with and who they didn't want to be with, you know, the guys leave the house and we see that the ladies are in the kitchen. They're like cooking something. So Zadia walks into the kitchen where the other three ladies are, and she's like asking them, oh, what are y'all talking about? And they tell her, oh, we're just talking about our dates and, you know, how, you know, they're feeling about everything. So out of nowhere, Charisse, you know, says, you know, oh, I enjoyed talking to Cameron because he was very down to earth and that, you know, she liked him, that he was a nice young man. So you can tell Zadia is feeling some kind of way because, you know, she had a great time with him the previous night. And then she saw Charisse speaking with him at the mixer earlier that day. So she's kind of like, okay, what's going on? But she's keeping her cool or whatever. She doesn't say anything. So Zadia, you know, starts talking about Cameron too. And she lets everybody know, you know, he's growing his photography business. And that he wants to retire in 2 years. So Charisse is keeping up with her. And so Charisse states that Cameron gave her business advice and that he has a good head on his shoulders. So we see, Lord help him. So we see in Zadia's confessional, she says that Charisse is using this moment to start some type of trouble with her and that she cannot trust her. So Ashley mentions that they did talk about setting up some house rules. So Ashley says she has no rules, she has no boundaries. Y'all do what y'all want, y'all grown, but she will respect anyone's wishes. And Vernisha is pretty much the same. Vernisha says everyone should just, you know, respect each other. Then Charisse says that although she has a connection with Maurice, she would never invite no guy to the house that everybody is staying in. So Zadia is looking at her and, you know, she says, you know, I'm confused about this because the previous night I asked everyone a question about, you know, y'all cool with any company coming over. And, you know, you said, Charisse, that you didn't like that and it was cool. And that you feel, and then then Zadia says she feels now that like she didn't want to force anything on Charisse. So she told her that as soon as Charisse said she wasn't okay, she was cool with it. So Zadia starts, you know, talking. She says, you know, Zadia tells Charisse that they're sisters. It should be a sisterhood here, and we should all have communication. Communication is key. So she also lets Charisse know that if she had a problem with her, she should directly speak to her about it and not anyone else. So immediately, child, like Charisse says, that is you, but this is me. And then Zadia turns around and tells Charisse that, you know, you're not a sister because it's clear that, you know, you don't know that. So I was laughing because I was laughing not at the situation, but I was laughing because Ashley was looking like, oh shoot, what's going on? It was just funny the way her reaction was. So Charisse then says, you know, you don't know what's clear about me. And Zadia says, you clearly don't care for anybody else to have their own story to tell. And I basically was feeling like Zadia didn't like the fact that Charisse brought this up in front of the matchmaker, Tamika. So that's kind of where this is coming from. So they start kind of arguing and Charisse lets her know that she didn't even say sorry to her for waking her up. But Zadia tells her that she didn't say anything about it. Like, you didn't tell me you were upset about it. So they just keep arguing. And then all of a sudden Charisse calls Zadia a mean girl. So Charisse kind of goes off saying, you know, don't F with me. And then we see in Vernisha's confessional, she says that going forward, she hopes that they both can come to a common ground and says that that same energy they put into conflict can be that same energy they put into finding a man. So I thought that was kind of funny. So basically, after Sharice basically telling Zadia, don't F with me, she keeps going on and on with Zadia. And at this point, Zadia is just eating a bowl of food. She's just looking at her, watching Sharice go off. And so it kind of gets heated between them. Sharice is kind of loud and Zadia is just sitting back, I guess, taking it. And scene, y'all. That's the end of the episode. Yeah, y'all, that's the end of episode 2. Next week, we're going to get into episode 3, and I'm going to review it and give my commentary on it. So overall, I would give this episode on a scale of 1 to 10, a 7. I'm gonna give it a 7. It was good. It kept me intrigued. I don't know how this is going to play out between Zadia and Sharice. You know, I don't like the fact that it's starting already, but just because I know how Sharice is from prior seasons, she don't play. And even with Zadia, she don't play either. So they're both fiery. So I'm going to see how this works out. Hopefully it can get it together because y'all are here for one mission, and that's to find somebody, not to be arguing about silly stuff. But anyway, I thank you guys so much for watching my recap and my review. Thank you guys for rocking with me. And stay tuned next week for episode 3. We'll get into that. And something that I want to do with you guys, I want to pray over you before we close out. I just have that on my heart to do that. So let me just say this prayer over you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. This is my prayer over your life. In Jesus' name, amen. So thank you guys so much for tuning into my channel. And I'll see you in the next video for episode 3. Take care. Bye.